You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Oh, sorry about that. Just like the Oilers, I'm not good at starting on time for things that happen in the afternoon. Welcome into Oilers Nation every day. Monday, it's a new week of the show coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. Yes, we're going to talk about the road trip, tonight's game against the Capitals. Ryan Holt's going to stop by. He's the Bakersfield Condors play-by-play voice. We'll have the full Sherwood Giant pregame show. But sadly, the lead today needs to be that debacle on Saturday. Let's get into it. That was ugly. There's just so many things went wrong with that. I'm irritated about so many things that happened in that hockey game tonight. Maybe I'm also a little bit irritated that my Buffalo Bills lost too, but that's a conversation for another part of this show. The Oilers just absolutely laying an egg to wrap up the homestand at Rogers Place, losing 6-2 to the Dallas Stars. Okay, before I'm going to get into the goaltending conversation, we're going to do that. We got to do that. But I don't want this to be it was Jack Campbell's fault they lost. It was not Jack Campbell's fault they lost. That game would have been closer, but they still would have lost. The entire team played poor. There was poor discipline. They couldn't stay out of the box. We said they had to stay out of the box. That was one of the Sherwood Giant keys to the game Saturday afternoon. And, no one showed up in that hockey game. It's inexcusable. This team was bad basically from the get-go, and they cannot continue to make a habit out of not showing up for these matinees. They have 7 more this season. 1 in every 10 games for the rest of the year, at least, is a matinee for the Oilers. They cannot keep not showing up for these matinee hockey games. Okay, we got that out of the way. The entire team was not that good. On the other side of things, let's have the goaltending conversation. I said Friday on Oilers Nation Radio, I said Saturday on this show, you shouldn't start Jack Campbell. Go with Skinner. Dallas is a damn good hockey team. Stuart Skinner has a .944 save percentage. You don't know how long that's going to hold up for, so ride Stuart Skinner while you can. Keep going to the hot hand if a hot hand's available for you. And they didn't. And now here's sort of the domino effect of everything that's happened. You start Campbell on home ice against Rogers, he gets lit up. Now his confidence is even more shot because you put him back out there on home ice against a damn good hockey team, and they got to him. He gave up some questionable goals. Team in front of him wasn't good. Regardless, his confidence is shot. The guy's sitting here facing the media calling his own play pathetic, and this is a guy who had confidence issues going back to Toronto. That was a big part of his story last season, is between the ears kind of thing. He got rattled a lot. So now you put him in Saturday when you probably should have gone with Stuart Skinner. Campbell gets lit up, confidence at an all-time low. You can't go back to him in back-to-back games after he gave up 6 to Dallas. So now you get a team in Washington on Monday who's awful offensively. Goals for per game. They're 28th in the NHL. 5-on-5 shots for percentage. 26th in the NHL. They cannot score. They're banged up. One of the worst offensive teams in the NHL. Instead of giving Campbell a bit of a fresh slate on a road trip on a Monday against Washington, who can't score, a really good chance to get his confidence back, you're now forced to go back to Stuart Skinner for this game. Washington starting their backup. Charlie Lindgren's getting the start. You could have had Campbell in this game, and it's a great chance for him to win a hockey game and build up some good momentum. Get things back on track. You didn't do that. And now Skinner's going to start tonight. That's confirmed from Stephen Wino. DailyFaceoff.com has him green. He's starting. And when's Campbell's next start? Tomorrow against a Tampa Bay team that just scored 5 goals on Saturday against Buffalo. Back-to-backs on the road, when the group in front of him's probably going to be a little tired. So why aren't you setting up this guy? He's your $5 million goalie, so you want to give him every single opportunity to get back on track. So you start him Saturday against Dallas, and all you're doing is putting him behind the 8 ball. That's all you're doing. It made no sense. I said it Friday. I was outvoted for some reason 4-1 on Oilers Nation Radio. Don't start Campbell. You go with Skinner. Play the hot hand. He's got a .944. And now you don't do it, and you're screwing yourself for tomorrow unless Jack Campbell has a miraculous performance. You could have, and I'm not, Campbell's going to get things back on track at some point this season. It might not happen for a couple weeks. Who knows? Maybe it does happen tomorrow against Tampa Bay. But you aren't putting him in the best spots to succeed. And that's the bottom line. I don't know. It's really frustrating because Campbell is a great guy. Again, when he gets this thing back on track, and I am very confident that that will happen, he'll have a run of 10 to 12 games where he's a .930 goalie, and we're chanting soup at Rogers Place, and he'll have this big grin, and everything will feel good. His redemption story will be fantastic. But the team isn't putting him in the right spot to succeed, and that's frustrating to me. Dangerous Wade says, I wonder if I'm enjoying being right about this. I'm not, because it's frustrating. I would have loved for Jack Campbell to go pitch a 36-save shutout or give up 1 goal on Saturday at Dallas, and I would have sat here and been like, what do I know? But it's annoying. I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. Let's bring in Liam, because now I'm all rattled. I don't enjoy having to sit here and shit on them for their decision-making between the pipes, but it was just such a, it looked like such a clear-cut choice of what you should have done. And it didn't go that way. Do you blame Campbell at all for Saturday, or is that just a game where the team didn't show up and maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of this?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I mean, at the end of the day, 6 goals went in, and some of those are going to be on the goalie, but also the team's going to play better in front of him. But we're 8 starts in now for Campbell, and it feels like every single time we come on this show, we say, we're like, well, this one wasn't his fault. This one wasn't his fault. Eventually, you just got to become a bit more consistent and make some big saves for this team when they really need him. And I'm with you on the decision of starting him on Saturday. Maybe wasn't the best idea. I was one of those 4 votes for Campbell on Oilersnation Radio. But I was on the edge of my seat. I was a little 50-50, but I think my belief is just Campbell is a good goalie. Skinner's a good goalie. They do have a really good tandem, but we saw it last year with Smith and Koskinen. Like, sometimes you just got to ride the hot hand for a few games until they get cold. Like, there was that whole thing last season with Koskinen where it's like the media made up this whole, like, I get cold after so many games. And it's like, well, maybe that's what we just need to find out with Skinner and Campbell. Is like, is Skinner's hot hand? How long can you stretch it out for? Like, the point of hockey is to win the game. Like, the Oilers, you need to get as high as you can in these seedings, so you don't end up having to go and play in Calgary for 7 games, for example, or if LA or whoever it is. Like, the Oilers need to get up the standings, and I understand it's early in the season, but at the end of the season, when it's February, March time, 2 points still count the same as they do in October. They just got to start winning some games at a consistent rate against good teams, and I know they just had 5 in a row, but they've just had a pretty disappointing performance against a good playoff team.
Yeah, and there's no team that this Oilers group can't beat. I mean, we talk about a lot of betting on this show. You'll probably be able to count on one hand the amount of times the Oilers will be underdogs this year on the betting market, because they're good. They're legit. They went to the Final Four last year, and things aren't going great right now. You've lost back-to-back. I just feel like they could have put themselves in a bit of a better spot on Saturday, and it didn't break that way. Whatever.
We talk about it with Holloway
tonight
a little bit, right? With like Holloway, it's like if he went to Bakersfield, it would help him get confidence. If you play Campbell against weaker opponents, it'll help him get confidence. This whole game is about confidence. That's what guys need, and he's just putting guys in the right spot to succeed. And unfortunately, I think a couple of times we've seen that this season, even in these last 2 games, with the Niemelainen pairing going on for that 7 seconds, and they concede the goal, and now the Campbell star. It's just, you just want to see a bit more consistency from the coaching staff too. It's not just all on the players.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point as well. Back-to-back losses for the Oilers. They'll be looking to snap out of it tonight against the Washington Capitals. We'll have all your pregame notes. I got some stats. We got line combos, all that good stuff. But for now, let's hit the road and head down to Bakersfield. Excited for this. Making his Oilers Nation Everyday debut is Ryan Holt, the play-by-play voice of the Condors. Ryan, how's it going, man?
I'm great, Tyler. How are you?
Oh, doing fantastic. My co-host producer, Liam, was just talking about Dylan Holloway, and that's where I want to start with our conversation here today. He's playing down on the 4th line for the most part. He's on most nights playing the least of any Oilers skater in the game. A lot of people are saying, maybe you put him down in Bakersfield for a little bit and let him just keep getting some experience at the pro level, playing 20-plus minutes a night. The flip side of that conversation is someone would have to come up. Someone's got to take his spot in the lineup. So where I want to start with you is there anyone down with the Condors right now who's just off to a flying start who you look at and go, they might be a decent little fourth line option for the next few weeks up with the big club?
Yeah, those decisions are way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I'll start with that one, and I know there's obviously salary cap, tightness up in Edmonton as well too. That kind of affects things, but I think it's been a good start for the Condors. 3-game winning streak here last week. Beat San Diego, beat a home and home against a Henderson team that scuffled a little bit out of the gate, but still a good back-to-back series win over Henderson. So. When you look at individual performances, Xavier Bourgault, I think, has turned some heads here early on. He's been playing with Brad Malone here in the early going, and Klim Kostin. Kostin's another guy who's had a nice start to the season. Numbers wise, you may look at it and go, well, we're the box cars, but I think when you look at the games itself, I think he's had a nice start to the year. And then you look at what Seth Griffith has done, and finally he was able to break out on Saturday. He's been a leading scorer for this team for the last couple of years, kind of on the elder statesman side of things, but a guy who is consistent and has really found his game here over the weekend. So I think there's been balance. The D-core has really chipped in offensively with Michael Kessering and Phil Kemp of late. James Hamlin's had a nice start, and I think it's been a balanced start to the season for the Condors. So I don't know if you look at one person, but as Jay Woodcroft has always mentioned, even dating back to his time in Bakersfield, was what ingredients are you looking for at the next level, and if it is a fourth line guy, do you play a guy in a different role when he does get called up? So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but like I said, it's it's above my pay grade, but happy to have whoever's here.
Yeah, and I do also wonder a little bit if maybe Tyler Benson's health plays into Holloway's future, but that is above both of our pay grades. I want to talk a little bit more about Xavier Bourgault, and you look at those box cars: 3 goals, 3 assists in 9 games played. What's he been doing well? Because just by looking at that stat line, it seems like he's adapting to the pro game pretty quickly.
Yeah, I talked to Xavier on Wednesday, in fact, kind of about the start, and he kind of talked about how it was a strange offseason for him because he didn't really have much of an offseason between, finishing up at the Memorial Cup and then going right into training camp, right into rookie camps, and then having to kind of get acclimated right away to, the pro hockey lifestyle. I think playing with Brad Malone has really helped him, and I think former players that have gone on to Edmonton have said that about, Bugsy and his ability to, play with guys down here at the AHL level and really groom them for an NHL role down the road. And for Bourgault, he kind of talked about playing against, you're playing against men. You're playing against bigger, faster, stronger individuals. And we always use the line down here, you're taking meal off the table for somebody. You're not just playing against 16 and 17-year-olds. You're playing against grown men who, have jobs, have families, and this is a business. And I think Bourgault's adapted nicely. His forechecking reminds me of a Yamamoto when he was here. His ability to kind of just find those dirty areas on a forecheck. He's been on our top PK as well too, and that's been a little bit of a work in progress here early on. But I like the fact that he's on the PK and he's getting those minutes because let's face it, when you get to the next level, there's only so many opportunities on the power play up in Edmonton. So if you're able to have that penalty kill tool down here in Bakersfield, it's only going to serve you well moving forward. So really like the way he's progressed here early on. We're only 9-10 games into the season, but he's playing top line minutes and he's doing a heck of a job at doing that.
Sticking with young players here, one guy who isn't on that leaderboard quite yet for the Condors because he's only played in 4 games is Carter Savoy, but he's popped home 2 in his first 4 games. What have been your first impressions of Savoy?
Yeah, great game for him on Saturday. And, talk about Carter, he had been injured too, so it's kind of getting back up into speed. It's not easy when you've had a month and a half off, and now you're trying to get back in, and a lot of guys have already had that month and a half plus 2 weeks of regular season action. So you get thrown in the fire and get 3 games in 4 nights. And I thought Saturday he really impacted the hockey game, jumped up in the rush with Griffith at a key moment in the hockey game. It was tied 1-1, and the Condors were kind of up against it, just killed off a 5-on-3. But we're able to turn that around, and that goal really sparked the momentum. The second goal as well too. Demers takes it to the front of the net. Savoy stops on the puck and finds himself in a good area too. He's a goal scorer. We know that going back to his days at the University of Denver. He's a guy who's been on the power play here in Bakersfield as well too. So if he can continue to grow, and much like a Bourgault, we're going to need these guys here in Bakersfield this year to step up and kind of take an early rookie step. And if those two can come to the forefront and chip in, 15 to 20 this year, I think it's a really solid Condors team that gets really better as this year goes on.
Just quickly, until we get into a few other things, we got some listener questions as well. Any update on
Sure.
Philip Broberg? Do we know what's going on with his health?
Yeah, so he's skating. So he should, anytime you're skating, I think you're close, I guess, if you will. And I think early on in the year, it's kind of a day-to-day situation. But he is skating, and David Pelletier from the Oilers is down here working with the guys as well too on edge work and things like that, because we only have 2 games on the weekend. So Broberg's skating. So look for him. I think sooner rather than later. It's not a long-term type of thing.
We got 2 listeners asking the same question. Joey and the Canadad want to know who's been the most pleasant surprise for you so far this season in the Condors lineup.
I'll use the word surprise just because it was the player that Keith Gretzky pointed out to me before the season, because they all go up to Edmonton, and I kind of I'm just lonely down here waiting for everyone to get back to Bakersfield, and kind of asked Keith who kind of impressed you at rookie camp, who impressed you at training camp. He said Michael Kesselring right off the hop. And for Kesselring to take that step is huge for him. This is his 3rd year, second full season with the Condors, but he had the COVID year as well too. So it's a big year for him. The points are there right now. Obviously, he leads the league in D scoring right now in terms of goals. So that's a positive. But I think defensively is where you're seeing the maturation of Michael Kesselring. That's what's going to get him to the next level. He's long, he's rangy, he skates like the wind. Can he have that little physicality, mean streak to him? I'm not saying he has to fight every night, but he did fight the other night against Jermaine Lowen. It kind of shows that edge a little bit for him. And him and Phil Kemp have really taken a nice step on the back end, along with Desharnais, who's coming back healthy. So it's going to be a really solid decor once it does get fully intact.
And before I let you go, as the play-by-play voice of the University of Alberta Golden Bears, I cannot let you leave without asking about my guy, Noah Philp. How's he looked as a Condor?
Yeah, he's been another, and I'll put him in the, pleasant surprise category. He's a guy who, started early on kind of the energy line, the 4th line, the checking line. He's carved out a nice little role right now with James Hamlin and Matthias Janmark. And again, when you look at the lines right now for the Condors, there's kind of a vet feel to every line. And you look at the NHL games played of some of these guys like Malone, Janmark, Demers, Griffith, the list goes on. And through osmosis, they're kind of, helping along the younger guys. And Noah had, 2 goals this past week, does a great job forechecking. I think is his calling card as well too, kills penalties. He's been a nice surprise here early on. If he turns into a solid option for this Condors team, it's just, adding gravy to it, because, it's been a good run of prospects here in Bakersfield, and hopefully he's part of the next wave as well.
I love that when you're describing a lot of these guys, it's things like versatility, hardworking, and the penalty killing aspect, because you even made the point, like, you can be the top 6 guy in Bakersfield and getting 3-4 minutes a night on the power play. But it seems like, is that like an organizational kind of message? Like, hey, if you're going to be down here and succeed with the Condors, you need to work hard, you need to forecheck hard, you need to kill penalties and touch every aspect of the game.
I think so, because, and I kind of mentioned it, but when you get to the NHL, you're not going to be on the power play. You're not taking Connor's minutes. You're not taking Leon's minutes. That's kind of established, and they're not going anywhere. And that's not a problem, but you have to find ways to get minutes. And if you can become a PK guy, we saw it a little bit too here in Bakersfield. And, I know he's been a tweener for the last couple of years, but with Tyler Benson, Benson exclusively for his first year never killed penalties. And the last year or so, he wanted to know what he could do to get to the next level. What can I do to improve my game? And that was a focus of his, going into last year and coming out of the COVID year, and, something that he still works on as well. So I think you're seeing it with a lot of guys, and yeah, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to play in all situations. And what better way to do it than here in Bakersfield, where there's opportunity, abounding at all levels.
Off the top of your head, do you know when your first trip up to Calgary is?
I do. It's in January. We come kind of in the same month. We're like early January and then early February. So we do have an off day up there. I'll need some recommendations on some food from everybody up there. So looking forward to it. Yeah, we hit Abbotsford too coming up at the end of this month. So we'll be making a couple trips up to Canada.
Yeah, coming up to Canada in January, right in the prime of the weather, leaving that warm Bakersfield for
It's
some
already
snowy Calgary.
it's
Love
already warm, isn't it? No.
Appreciate your time, Ryan, as always, and we'll have to catch up before that trip in January. We'll get you some restaurant recommendations.
Absolutely, Tyler. Appreciate the time.
Perfect. There you go. That's Condors play-by-play voice Ryan Holt joining us on Oilers Nation every day. Always a great time catching up with Holty. You can follow him on Twitter at Condors Holty. Stay up to date with everything going on with the Oilers Farm Club in Bakersfield. It'll be interesting to see. I do think ultimately, not that I have inside info, just my guess, Benson's been skating with the team. Apparently, he's still not quite close yet. But as soon as Benson's ready, I think we might see some Holloway news. Although I will say, I think he looked really, really good with McDavid the other day. And I was kind of hoping, and this is a nice transition into the Oilers lineup for tonight against the Washington Capitals. I was hoping we'd see maybe a Holloway look in the top six, top line next to Connor McDavid. I think that would have been a pretty decent fit. Here's how the Oilers are going to line up tonight against Washington via our very own Jason Gregor. McDavid with Puljujarvi and Nugent Hopkins. So JP going back to the top line. I don't hate the look of that trio there. Second line is going to be Draisaitl with Hyman and Evander Kane. Ryan McLeod with Warren Fogle and Derek Ryan. Even that one there, I would have liked. Derek Ryan scored in back-to-back games, so I get it to an extent. I would have maybe either kept Ryan with Holloway and Shore, because that trio is scoring at least, or I would have gone with Holloway on that third line just to play him with a bit more skill. But the fourth line for the Oilers is going to be Devon Shore with Holloway and Yamamoto. So probably the most significant part of this is that Yamamoto's been demoted to the fourth line. We'll see for how long, but he's a guy who's really got to get the offense going for this Oilers team. The blue line tonight, we are expected to see Niemelainen draw out in for Ryan, or he'll come out for Ryan Murray. So again, I thought they maybe should have done that Saturday with back-to-back games. I think it makes sense that you split it up and don't play either Murray or Niemelainen on both of the back-to-backs. Long road trip coming up. Keep everyone fresh. So Murray and Barry is going to be the third pairing. Everything else stays the same on the Oilers blue line. And Stuart Skinner is going to be the starting goalie for the team as well. For the Washington Capitals, they are just beyond banged up right now. They are very, very injured. They're missing Dmitry Orlov might be back tonight, but John Carlson, IR, TJ Oshie, IR, Connor Brown out for the season, Tom Wilson, Nick Backstrom, Carl Hagelin. Like when you just count up the top six wingers there, or the top six players they're missing, Backstrom, Wilson, Brown, and Oshie. That's significant. Samantha Pell, our friend, the reporter out in Washington, says Nicholas Aube-Kubel is expected to make his Caps debut tonight. Milano's going to stay in the lineup as well. Aube-Kubel, they got off waivers from the Leafs over the weekend. Orlov is a game-time decision. Like I said, John Carlson not playing. So for the Caps, it's going to go Kuznetsov, Ovi, and Connor Sherry. Dylan Strome with Sonny Milano and Marcus Johansson. Eller with Connor McMichael and Anthony Mantha, Nick Dowd with Aube-Kubel and Garnet Hathaway. The blue line, if Orlov plays, it's on the top pairing with Van Riemsdyk. Martin Farabee with Nick Jensen, Eric Gustafson, the one-time Oilers draft pick, with Matt Irwin as well. So there you go. That's how the Caps are lining up for this evening's game. To wrap up today's show, let's get to our betting report, bringing our guy Liam, courtesy of Betway. Liam, how'd Friday go? How'd the weekend go?
Not ideal. Obviously, whenever the Oilers lose and you bet heavily on the Oilers on every bet you make, it typically doesn't go great. So tonight we're going right back to betting. Yeah, that was good. But tonight we're going right back to betting heavily on the Oilers, obviously. So McDavid, 500 games tonight. I think he'll probably chip in with a point or two maybe. So I'm just going to go with the over there. I'm like playing it somewhat safe with that one. And then the other one, the Darnell Nurse point. It's on a 3-game streak. You got to give him credit where credit, whatever the saying is, to give me my words.
Credit where credit is due.
Credit where credit is due. Darnell Nurse earns it 3 games in a row with a point. I honestly didn't like a ton of what I'm seeing at the moment. Like, the Caps are kind of a weird team to read. Like, you named all those injuries, and like they just lost to Arizona, but again, they still have guys like Ovechkin and Kuznetsov and those kind of guys who can really chip in. So we'll go with these two tonight. I do think McDavid could probably get a goal too, just to mark the occasion. So yeah, what do you have? Anything else?
Oh, I'm not stopping the Hyman shot prop till he misses it. I mean, it's still set at plus 110. I think the value is tremendous. This guy's hit it in 7 straight games, and he's had 5+ in 3 of those games. It was one of my daily face-off best bets tonight as well. The Zach Hyman shot prop. I'm hammering it until you can't hammer it anymore. So I'm taking that tonight. I don't hate the McDavid one, but I am leaning. I think the Oilers win this hockey game. I failed to mention this off or during the Washington lineup report, but Charlie Lindgren getting the start for the Capitals, that's a big break. He's allowed 3 goals in every game that he's played in so far this season. But the Capitals, they aren't good at 5-on-5. Their special teams is pretty much league average. They're like 14th and 16th in PK and power play percentages. This Caps team isn't that good. The Oilers, I think they're kind of due for a victory and a good game here tonight. So I like taking them at plus 150 on the puck line. So my 2 plays tonight are Oilers on the puck line and the Zach Hyman shot prop, both paying out plus money as well.
I did like the puck line. I was looking at that one too. What are they on the money line?
Yeah.
Minus 150 or something, right? Something around there.
Yeah, not great value there.
Not great.
But anyways. Yeah, I do like the puck line. I like Hyman. My other 2 plays for the NHL tonight, I'm up money in November as well, which is a good sign. I'm taking the Vladimir Tarasenko shot prop for the Blues, and I'm taking Patrice Bergeron to pick up an assist in that game. It's a quiet night around the NHL. Not a ton going on, just 3 games on the National Hockey League slate. The Blues looking to snap out of their losing streak against Boston, and Calgary is out on Long Island as well. Frog Prince says, if the Oilers lose, Tyler riots. Yeah, and I do sound frustrated. That game on Saturday was incredibly frustrating, and we'll get into a few more comments here. Shout out to our friends at Betway for the betting report. As always, 19 plus, please play responsibly. I think I'm going to do a watch along for this evening's game, so you can look for that on, if you can't tell, I'm a little congested, but I think I'll be fine by this evening, so it'll be all good. I think I'm going to do a watch along for the game tonight. It's a big one for a couple of reasons. Oilers looking to snap out of a 2-game losing streak, and it's Connor McDavid's 500th career NHL game. Yeah, I mean, you don't need me to say this, what a start to his career. 722 points in his first 499 career games. That's one of the best paces to start a career amongst any player in NHL history. He is 232nd all-time. Liam, I asked Frank this question on the DFO Rundown and Daily Face-Off Live. He's at 722 in his first 500 games. How many will he be at by game 1,000?
So you said he's at 722 through 500.
Yeah. So how many will he be at by 1,000?
Oh boy. Let's. What do you think? Give me a clue.
So if you go off points per game, I think his points per game could actually see a bit of an uptick. 1,500 points in 1,000 games feels like a good number, but again, I think we're just going to get a couple of insane seasons from this guy. So I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to say he is at 1,550 by the time he's at 1,000 career games.
Okay, I was thinking around 1,530, so we're in the same ballpark. I mean, like, the sky's the limit. This guy, would anybody be shocked if one day he just was like, oh, I just got 200 points in a season? Maybe that's a bit extreme, but I mean, he's also Connor McDavid. Like, this man, the sky's the limit. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. I was looking at the NHL all-time scoring leaders, so he's 232nd right now. He just passed Peter Nedved the other day. We were talking about that on the show. If he gets up to 1,500, I'll assume Crosby and Ovechkin both get there as well, obviously. Like, they will. They're both like 80-some points away, 70-some points away. If Crosby and Ovechkin are both still ahead of him, 1,500 points would put him 17th in the NHL. If he can get to 1,550, it would put him up to 14th all-time in NHL scoring. 1,600 right now would have him in the top 10, but again, Crosby and Ovechkin probably throw that number off a little bit. And at that point, to pass Paul Coffey's third all-time in Oilers scoring, 1,531, or points by a player who was an Oiler at some point. So we'll see. I think 1,550 is a good number, though, in 1,000 games. Rusty says maybe 1,600, yeah.
Yeah. I guess my question for you, what's your favorite McDavid goal? He has so many. Like, I feel like there's a lot of obvious ones, but was there a moment when you were at Rogers Place and you were like, okay, that was the one? Because mine's Game 7 Kings. And I know it wasn't the most spectacular goal, but like the moment was just incredible. And obviously there's a bunch of other ones that were better than that, but just the whole picture of it was unbelievable. Something I'll never forget, to be honest. Yeah,
from a personal perspective, for the goal against the Rangers, which is his nicest goal ever, I was like row 6 behind that net, and I saw him like just cut through the D-men perfectly, and then everyone in front of me stood up so fast I didn't even see the goal go in. but the
Yeah.
building was just rocking. There was a couple of nation citizens behind me too that were like grabbing me. Like no one could believe it. Everyone was just looking at each other. That one was crazy, but I think I agree. Like the game 7 goal, I was there as well. So were you. We both have still not financially recovered from attending that hockey game, but that's okay.
Never
but it was
will.
worth it. Like, yeah, never will. That's why we're doing this show now, is because we needed the extra coin. But again, that goal just in the moment, Rogers Place, that's an all-timer. The game winner against Calgary, game 5 as well in OT, but there's something about game 7, right? That's just a totally different level. And he was so good in that hockey game. Then he scores that big goal. So yeah, the top 3 is pretty defined at this point. It's the Rangers goal, it's the Kings goal, it's the Flames OT winner to win the BOA. Whatever order you put them in, I honestly don't think matters. And I will say, I bet you none of those 3, maybe the Calgary one stays in like his top 5 by the end of his career, but he'll have some more at some point. That'll be just insane.
Definitely, because there's even like the Columbus one when he came back.
Yeah, that one's in the top 5 for sure.
That was crazy. What was it? There was a Winnipeg one too in there, I think. There's just, like you said, this guy is just going to keep making memories for everyone. And thankfully, we've had 500 games. Here's to hopefully more than 500 more. Just keep going, Connor.
Yes, absolutely. Game 500 for Connor McDavid as the Oilers look to snap out of a 2-game losing streak. This has been another Sherwood 4 Giant Game Day edition. Oh, Liam, we didn't do keys to the game. We didn't do our keys to the game. What are you thinking tonight? I'm going to just simply light up Charlie Lindgren. He's not that good. This Caps team isn't that good at 5-on-5. You should, and they're banged up. You should just be able to hammer them. Dominate this hockey game. I'm fully expecting it. Light up Lindgren is my key. What's yours?
Just be mean, be aggressive, but be mean and aggressive with the puck. Just fire it, break the net. They broke Jack Campbell's glove on Saturday. Break Washington's net tonight. Just rip pucks through it all night. They got to get some momentum back. So let's do that tonight.
Yep. Start the road trip on a high note. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford at the Giant. Also, Sports Closet Studio. Beautiful Hyman jersey. Maybe he has a big night tonight. Hoodie, hat, everything you need to rep the Oilers sportscloset.ca. I'll be back tonight on this channel for a little live watch along as well. So tune in for that. And yeah, we'll talk to you then. Enjoy the game tonight.